Right, we're live on YouTube.
Good.
Paul, good to see you. Glad you made
Good
it.
to see you.
Welcome, Paul. Good to see you. Paul, you and I are having great fun with this.
Right, Paul, can we work on your audio? Because you are, I think, again, possibly louder than Ted. I can't balance. I can't.
Microphone plugged in,
Oh,
and I want to know what I need to do.
right, you are horrible. That's absolutely awful. You're getting a double. We're getting a
No,
double.
I can't hear you. Why can't I hear you?
We're getting a double echo.
Okay, I can't hear you. No. Right. Okay.
You better send him something in this.
Yeah,
in this
I'll
chat,
send him a
Moira.
chat. We are getting a double echo. But I think he's on his phone at the moment, so
Okay.
that's more difficult to. You might not see the chat.
Oh yeah.
I can't hear a word, guys, at the moment. Okay. Can you hear me now?
Oh, that's
Yeah,
better.
we can hear you now.
Yeah, there's something. I can't do anything with my external microphone today, Moira.
Okay, well, your audio is very loud and there's an echo. Are you on your phone at the moment? Or on the computer?
No,
No, you're on the computer.
I'm on the computer.
Oh, you're coming over on a different aspect ratio for some reason or other.
Right.
You're coming
My whole system seems to have gone into a strange position today, which I may have to reinstall Zoom altogether. So basically, I'm trying to adapt my audio options, and I'm not getting anything. Okay, we just have to go with. I can't even see the whole screen, but that doesn't really matter to anyone else except me.
Right,
So-
can you go into your audio settings in Zoom and bring
No,
your microphone? Bring your
I've
microphone.
already tried to do that. My audio settings won't open.
Oh,
Or even
So-
if you,
There's no point in trying to sort me out. Otherwise, we could be 15
yeah,
minutes.
but I can't. Your audio is unusable. It's far too loud. It's going
yeah,
to
can
cause.
you just reduce the volume?
No,
Can't
Can't.
reduce the volume on the
No.
computer or whatever device he's using.
no, because
Is it very loud? It's still very loud, yeah?
it's very loud.
Sounds a
Yeah,
bit loud, Paul, yeah.
very loud
And boomy.
and boomy. Yeah. Now you're muted. Well, you're not muted. We can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we're
Oh, that's
hearing you now.
better.
That's a bit better.
That's better.
That's a bit better. Okay.
It's a
well,
lot
hold on.
better, actually, Paul. It's a lot better.
It's still
We want
loud, but
We want it.
it's much better.
We want it to be much better.
It's.
Are you recording us both on the same track, Moira?
I have no choice. I'm recording.
Paul, that's much
I'm-
better now. That's
I'm-
much better.
I'm just asking. I'm just asking. Is it on two tracks or on
No,
one?
I can't. If I could
Is
split,
three
if I
tracks on any different?
if I could.
No,
split,
you can't hear me.
Oh, take that out,
Right.
Paul. Undo what you just did.
I can't. Can you hear
Okay.
me?
The only question is,
Can you hear me? Because I seem to be talking and nobody's listening to what I'm saying. I cannot record you on two tracks. All I can do is to record the Zoom. Okay. Now I can record.
okay, fine.
I can record Zoom separately. So to Zoom Cloud or Zoom to computer, I can record separate tracks. But that just makes it doubles the work in post because I then got to sync the two.
Okay.
Yeah,
Look,
it's just not.
I
practical.
just wanted to know if you two tracks, so don't worry.
No, it's one.
You're great.
can
You're
you-
sounding great now, Paul.
You're much better now.
No, let Moira. Moira's the judge, Ted. She has to be the one who tells me it's okay.
Yeah, Ted, can you
It might sound okay.
can you talk, Ted?
Yes, Moira, can you hear me?
Yeah, you're a little bit quieter, Ted, but that's okay. I can balance that.
Okay.
And is my sound okay?
Your sound is much better. It's still not perfect, but it'll do.
So it's okay to start. That's all
Yeah.
I needed to
Yeah,
know.
it is, Paul, yeah.
Yeah. And if you could drop your voice volume down a little bit, that would help.
Okay.
Are you with me?
I'll move further away from the computer.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
see,
would make a difference.
that's fine. That's much better.
Yeah, so I speak to you from here, and that okay?
Yep, that's fine.
Okay.
Okay. Right, let's exit that.
Could we in future not go live on YouTube until we've sorted all of this stuff out?
Well,
Because I can only imagine that somebody on YouTube is tearing their hair out and would have no interest. All of this stuff should be done, surely, if we possibly can, behind the scenes.
Okay. I have been ready to go since 2:45.
And I haven't been able to go because I haven't been able to get in because my Zoom machine wasn't able to let me in to get onto the show at all. So that's why I wasn't here at 3 o'clock.
I understand. I understand. Are you ready, Ted?
I'm ready, Moira.
3, 2, 1, go.
Hello, Toastmasters, would-be Toastmasters, listeners and friends. You're very welcome to the Talk Show for Talkers on irishtalkers.com. Our email address is info@irishtalkers.com. You can also find us on Facebook as the Talk Show for Talkers. And we always look forward to your comments, your questions, your feedback. We evaluate and we look on this as evaluation, so we value what you send back to us. You can listen to previous shows on our website, irishtalkers.com, and we also publish the Public Speaking Weekly. This is a roundup of links from the internet. It's all about Toastmasters. It's about public speaking, confidence, leadership. So watch out for the newspaper on our website. My name is Ted Malamphy, and I'm joined again this week by the prolific, persuasive, passionate, personable Paul O'Mahony.
You're muted, Paul.
Well, listeners, it's lovely to be back with you again. And I hope we're going to have a very good chat today with...
Stop. We've got to start at the beginning because Moira picked up. I don't know why, but when I clicked go, it didn't go, and I wasn't paying attention. So let's go back to the beginning. Ted, 3, 2, 1, go. Sorry, Ted. 3.
Oh, you're okay.
No, I was counting and my microphone was muted. 3, 2, 1, go.
And it's lovely to be here with you, Ted, and I hope that the listeners are going to enjoy today's show.
This is gonna be one of those days.
Sorry about that, folks. That was my fault.
Let's start again. Hey-ho. We'll get there.
No, wait a minute.
I'm waiting.
Let's start again can mean two things. It can mean begin the whole show again, or it can mean Paul pick up when Ted speak to him. Where are we starting?
Are you ready, Ted?
Are we starting from the very start?
Starting from the very beginning.
Okay, wait, no, I better do something about this phone here, Mara.
Okay.
I'll just turn it down there in case that person rings me back. Okay, Mara, I'm ready.
Okay, 3, 2, 1, go.
Hello, Toastmasters, would-be Toastmasters, listeners and friends. You're very welcome to the Talk Show for Talkers on irishtalkers.com. Our email address is info@irishtalkers.com. You can also find us on Facebook as the Talk Show for Talkers. We welcome your comments, your questions, your feedback. We regard it as your evaluations of what we present to you. And please do send in those evaluations. You can also listen to previous shows on our website, irishtalkers.com. We also publish the Public Speaking Weekly. This is a roundup of links from the internet. It's all about Toastmasters, public speaking, confidence, leadership, etc. So look out for the newspaper link on our website. My name is Ted Malamphy, and I'm joined again this week by the prolific, personable, passionate, persuasive Paul O'Mahony.
Well, Ted, thank you very much. I'm looking forward to chatting with you today about all things Toastmasters, and I'm particularly grateful to everyone who's listening to this.
Well done, Paul, and we're looking forward to everything that you're going to offer us today. I know you're going to be giving us a word of the week. I will certainly be giving a thought for the week. I also know that in the third section, your own segment, you're going to be talking about what your district needs from you. So your district needs you. So we're looking forward to that. And you were also doing a segment, you were also looking after the segment, the final segment. And this should be very interesting because you is the personal story. So that's intriguing. So I'm certainly going to be tuning in on Monday for all what's involved with regards that. My thought for the week is, and this is philosophical, so you'll have to think about this. The meaning of life is to find your gift. The purpose of life is to give it away. So the meaning of life is to find your gift, and the purpose of life is to give it away. And that came to us from Picasso. What would you think of that, Paul?
Superb. It's as good as any one of his paintings. It's interesting that the man was able to think as well as produce imagery. He seems to have been a guy who could do a lot of things. That particular quotation reminds me of my own life. I don't know how long I spent trying to become a success. Then as soon as I became a success, I wanted to give it away. So everybody I meet these days, they become a success. I just give them what it's taken me all my life to build up. Now, listeners, that was an elaborate joke. I do not want to have it quoted back at me. Anyway, there's the key thing. I do think it makes a whole lot of sense to say that you spend a good chunk of your life trying to figure out who you are and why you're here and what your purpose is. And then hopefully you will actually achieve that. A lot of people don't achieve that. I think a lot of people spend their entire life trying to figure out what their purpose is. But if you're fortunate enough to have a purpose and to have a gift as a result, because you won't have much of a purpose unless you have a gift. You won't have much of a gift unless you have a purpose. So there you are, an opportunity to grow and blossom rather than pass away a grumpy old man.
Well, that's interesting, Paul, because Huckleberry Finn said something very similar to what you just said, except he had a better definition on it. He said the two most important times of your life, number one, the day you were born. Number two, the day you find out why. So
I like that. I like that a lot. I don't know how you happen to have that one in your back pocket, but my goodness, I congratulate you. And now look, let's not forget, we're talking about Picasso, not Mark Twain, aren't we?
Or Mark Twain, I should have said, yeah, Mark Twain. Mark Twain said that the two most important things are the day you're born and the day you find out why. So what we're talking about here, you said you've spent your whole life trying to find out what your meaning for life was, and then you did say that you want to give it away. That's exactly the whole point, that goals in life and purpose of life are two different things. Your purpose in life is why you were born. So the purpose in your life is to give away the knowledge that you have and the knowledge that you are acquiring now, particularly as a Toastmaster. You're prepared to share that with the people that you come into contact with, and that's how you leave your footprint on this planet, or in people's hearts. When you and I decide to leave this world, these will be the bits of legacy that we leave behind.
Well, I mean, that's really a terrific sermon, Ted. I would call that now sermon on the podcast. Now, I have a special word this week, and I'm not going to ask you when it entered the English language, because nobody on this show ever knows, and I'm the only one who knows because I have the answer in front of me. The word is gamut, G-A-M-U-T. It's a 15th century word, 15th century. And in the 15th century, it was first used to talk about a whole range of musical notes. So it was a musical term. So you could talk about, she played the whole gamut from B below middle C right to A before top D. So it's a whole series of things stretched out, a gamut of something. As time went on, it changed its meaning to mean something more generic, an entire range or series of things. So you can run the gamut from depression to elation. That's a whole stretch between the two. You can run the gamut from, going the other way, praise to contempt. The speaker, she ran the gamut from taking the audience into the pits to taking them into heaven by the end of her speech. She ran the gamut. There we are. It's not a term used in the Olympics. You don't run the gamut from 100 meters to marathon. Although I suppose you could bend the meaning of the word that way. You could perhaps talk about the entire range of, or series of holes on a golf course and talk about he played the whole gamut from the first hole to the last with only one club in the bag. So that's the word gamut. Have you had gamut steak or gammon steak recently, Ted?
Oh, I have, yeah, but there's no connection there, surely, is there?
Well, of course there isn't. I was just doing
playful
messing around with gammon and gamut.
Yeah.
You know, and gannet. What about gannet?
Oh,
Now,
I have a couple of gannets out here that I see every morning rising from the river.
Well, a lot of people join Toastmasters in order to increase their proficiency in English. And that's one of the great services that Toastmasters gives to people. Particularly, I mean, I think it'd be true to say, particularly in Asia. As far as I can see, huge numbers of members of Toastmasters in Asia. One of the attractions of Toastmasters is that they get to improve their English, because they all learn to speak English and learn to speak it very well, in my experience. But so to distinguish between gamut, which is a whole range of things, from A to Z, for example. Gammon, which is perhaps not eaten so frequently in Asia. Gammon steak, very popular in Ireland, comes from a pig. And thirdly, gannet, which is a seabird. I don't know what seabirds are doing in Ted Melanphy's back garden, but he may have a lot of seaweed there, I suppose. Do you use seaweed on your garden?
No, I
Ted?
don't. When I was talking about the gannet, I was possibly referring to a different type of bird. And there's a river just in front of me. And for the last couple of days, the name of the river flows through Blarney. It's called the River Martin. But while I'm out walking every day now, I refer to it as the Ganges, because there's a flood of water and it's after overrunning its banks, and now it's in fields and everything. So maybe I was getting mixed up with my birds, but I know the gannet you're speaking of. In China, they use those birds to do their fishing for them. They tie the gannet's neck, they let the gannet dive in and pluck a fish and bring it back up to the fisherman because he can't
Well,
swallow the fish.
so there we have gannet, Ganges, gammon, and gammon.
All the G's.
What a phenomenal messing around this is, you know.
Interesting,
The-
interesting.
The idea, I was really surprised. I'll get one last thing in before we finish, that they would tie the rope around the gannet's neck. I would have thought they would have tied it around one of the gannet's legs, but you know, who knows?
No,
There we
they
are.
tie it at the bottom of his neck so he can't swallow the fish. So when he comes up, you can actually see the shape of the fish hanging from his you know, you can see it halfway down his neck because he's got a big long neck.
There's a Pathways project you can do on that, Ted. We better stop here.
Okay.
We better
and
stop. That's good research, Ted. It's level 1, a
well
research
done.
project.
And that wraps up nicely. And we want you to come back tomorrow where we'll be listening to The 10 Secrets of Success by Warren Buffett.
Well done.
But Ted, you've educated me. It would never have crossed my mind. Of course, it's terribly intelligent to tie it around the bird's neck to make sure it doesn't swallow it.
Yeah, but I mean, they don't turn it, and it wouldn't be a rope, to be some kind of a little cord or something, just to block the gannet from swallowing the fish.
And when you were in China, did you actually see them doing that?
No, I didn't see that, but I've seen it in different pictures and documentaries and stuff like that, which I thought was very clever.
It makes sense.
Very clever.
Yeah.
It makes sense. Right, let's see if I can balance.
How long is Warren Buffett?
I
It's
didn't
a
check
good,
actually. I'll tell you
about
in a
10
second.
minutes more, is it?
I'll tell you in a second. Let me
Okay, I don't think we have to listen to it. We can listen to it later on. It's just about his
Warren
secret to
Buffett's-
success. And Paul, the interesting thing about it is you were talking about the meaning of life and all the rest of it. This particular YouTube video that he gives us here is very interesting. From the age of 8, he knew that he was going to be involved in finance. From
It's
the
8.5
age of 8,
minutes.
incredible.
Well,
8
Ted,
and a half, right?
from the age of 7.5, I knew I was going to be involved in the world of golf.
Did you? God, fair juice, yeah.
Yeah, I was in short trousers and I went caddying for my dad.
Geez, that's brilliant. Oh, you were lucky that your dad was able to play golf.
He was captain of a golf club once.
Oh, was he? God bless him. The closest my dad ever got to get to golf was pitch and putt. And I can remember we
Very
used,
close, though. That's very close. Some of the best golfers have been pitch and putt.
yeah. And
The other thing is my dad was captain in a golf club where Walter Hagen came to play.
oh, fantastic. Where was that?
Unfortunately, he was captain, I think, 2 years before Walter Hagen came to play. Walter Hagen played an exhibition match against the best Irish player at that time, who
Jimmy
was
Bruin? Jimmy
Jimmy
Bruin?
Bruin. Jimmy Bruin.
Remember Musgrave?
I'm pretty sure. Anyway, they played in Limerick Golf Club,
Right.
which, by the way, the architect of which was the same person who was the architect of Augusta.
Oh, fantastic.
So there we are.
God, that's interesting, Paul. And your
There we-
dad was the captain of Limerick Golf Club. Sure, no wonder you were out at 7 years of age with him. So how come you didn't turn into a Tiger Woods?
Well, I did, but I kept it under the radar. I mean, is this
Yeah.
being recorded? It is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Be
interesting.
careful with my jokes.
Yeah, I know.
Careful, yeah.
We are ready to go.
That's
I mean-
one.
We are ready to go. with
There's
the
a
next
side
section.
cycle I wouldn't want to say I copied
Okay.
in.
Okay, Mara, I'll bring us in so, and I'll give this little piece about one.
Yep. Okay. Ready, Ted? 3, 2,
Yes.
1, go.
Welcome, Toastmasters, to segment 2 of this week's offering of the Talk Show for Talkers on irishtalkers.com. You know you can find us through our email address, which is info@irishtalkers. What we have today is an offering on YouTube of one of the most well-known, if not the best known, of all financial gurus, Mr. Warren Buffett, and he's going to give you the opportunity for the 10 biggest secrets to success from his point of view. So he's going to give you the top 10 rules. And this is interesting because what you're going to discover here is at the age that this man knew that he was born for what he actually does. So it is interesting, so enjoy.
Okay. Spot. Oh, come on. Where you gone? Where you gone?
Do you want to just do an outro on that no more, or do you want, are we going to play it or what?
Cancel. Just hold on. That's better. I hit a wrong key. I don't mind. It's 8.5 minutes, so it will fill the.
That's why I tried to stretch the intro a little bit.
Yeah, I mean it's a reasonable length, obviously.
Why don't we play it and say a few words about it, Ted?
Oh, no, I'd be delighted. I thought you might have been concerned about the fact that we were about 25 minutes late starting, you know? Could have saved us 8.5 minutes, like.
Well, is anyone?
Yeah, I'm okay, depending on Moira.
Does anyone have a time limit today?
No, I haven't. I'm okay.
No, I'm fine.
Okay, I just want to normalize this audio because there's a few peaks.
All right.
Oh, Ted, just to tell you, I was wrong. It was John Burke, the famous.
John Burke. All right, right.
He was my golf coach, and Stanley Martin. The two of them played against Walter Hagen and Kirkwood, who was a trick shot artist. Who were on a world tour. The two of them were on a world tour, and Burke and Stanley Martin were victorious, beating them by 63 strokes to 65.
Oh, yeah, that's interesting. Was John Burke a member of Limerick?
No, John Burke was a member, certainly of Lahinch. He was never a member of Limerick, but he was the greatest. He played in the Walker Cup team in 1932.
Right.
He was awesome, and he won the South of Ireland by I think 11 times in 10 years.
Jeez, fantastic.
Are you ready?
He was unbeatable. He was unbeatable.
Are you ready to listen, folks?
He must have been brilliant. So,
are you ready to listen?
That's a great story, Paul. Sorry, Mara.
Are you ready to listen?
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
So enjoy.
Okay.
He was the single most successful investor of the 20th century. Time magazine named him one of the most influential people in the world. He's worth over $70 billion. He's Warren Buffett, and here are his top 10 rules for success.
How can other people tap dance to work? What's the secret of that?
You find your passion. You find your passion. I was very, very lucky to find it, when I was 7 or 8 years old, and fortunately my children have found their passion. One son loves farming like nothing else. One son loves music like everything else, and all three of them love philanthropy and what they get to do. You're lucky in life when you find it, and you can't guarantee you're going to find it in your first job out. But I always tell the college students that come out, I say, take the job that you would take if you were independently wealthy. You're going to do well at it. If you think you're going to be a lot happier if you've got 2X instead of X, you're probably making a mistake. I mean, you ought to find something you like that works with that. And And you'll get in trouble if you think that making 10x or 20x is the answer to everything in life, because then you will do things like borrow money when you shouldn't, or maybe cut corners on things that your employer wants you to cut corners on. Or it just doesn't make any sense. You won't like it when you look back on it. 3 things in hiring people: look for integrity, intelligence, and energy. And he said if the person didn't have the first 2, that the latter 2 would kill them. Because if they don't have integrity, you want them dumb and lazy. You don't want them smart and energetic. It never bothered me if people disagreed with what I thought, as long as I felt I knew the facts. I mean, there's a whole bunch of things I don't know a thing about. I just stay away from those. So I stay within what I call my circle of competence. You know, and Tom Watson said it best. He said, I'm no genius, but I'm smart in spots, and I stay around those spots. Well, I try and stay around those spots, and I just don't have a problem if somebody says, you're wrong on something. I go back and look at the facts, and I think that really is much more important, frankly, than having a few points of IQ or having an extra course or 2 in school or anything of the sort. You need emotional stability. I just read and read and read. I probably read 5 to 6 hours a day. I don't read as fast now as when I was younger, but I read 5 daily newspapers. I read a fair number of magazines. I read 10Ks. I read annual reports, and I read a lot of other things too. So I've always enjoyed reading. I love reading biographies. Famous lesson about a margin of safety, that you don't drive a truck that weighs 9,900 pounds across a bridge that says limit 10,000 pounds, because you can't be that sure about it. If you see something like that, you go down a little further down the road and you find one that says limit 20,000 pounds, and that's the one you drive across. The nature of capitalism is that people want to come in and take your castle. It's perfectly understandable. I mean, if I'm selling television sets or something, there's going to be 10 other people that are going to try and sell a better television set. If I have a restaurant here in Omaha, people are going to try and copy my menu and give more parking and take my chef and so on. So capitalism's all about somebody coming and trying to take the castle. Now, what you need is a castle that has some durable competitive advantage, some castle that has a moat around it. And that moat, one of the best moats in many respects, is to be a low-cost producer. But sometimes the moat is just having more talent. I mean, if you're the heavyweight champion of the world and you keep knocking out people, you've got a competitive advantage as long as you can keep doing it. And it's very profitable if you're the one that happens to be able to do it. If you can turn out great motion pictures, I mean, Steven Spielberg, I mean, he's a fellow to bet on, and it has enormous economic value. You'd be surprised at my days. I mean, they're very unstructured, no meetings. None. I mean, I don't like meetings. And I read a lot. I wish I were a faster reader. I'd get more done. But I do read a lot, and I'm on the phone a moderate amount. Our businesses run themselves basically out there. My job is allocating capital, and that's what I'm thinking about. But I don't like to have things all packed hour to hour to hour. And Bill and I are both extraordinarily lucky. I mean, we really get to do what we like to do, the way we want to do it, with people that we choose to be around, and they're terrific. I mean, we've really got everything our way, and we're very fortunate. And in his world, he has a different kind of pace than I have, but we both love it the way we do it. And my guess is that we're each the most productive in that particular mode too, because it fits our personalities and aptitudes. What kills great businesses, if you look at, I do believe in looking at history, and I like to study failure, actually. And my partner says, all I want to know is where I'll die, so I'll never go there. And we want to see what has caused businesses to go bad. And the biggest thing that kills them is complacency. I mean, you want a restlessness, a feeling that somebody's always after you, but you're going to stay ahead of them. You always want to be on the move. And when you've got a great business, like Coca-Cola, which is, there aren't any like Coca-Cola, but you really, the danger would always be that you rest on your laurels. But I see none of that, obviously, at Coca-Cola. But that is the key, to compete the same way when you've got 1.8 billion servings being sold daily as when you were selling 10 a day. And that restlessness, that belief that tomorrow's more exciting than today. You just have to have it permeate the organization.
Who was Ben Graham? He was your primary mentor, model?
He was a wonderful man, and he was my professor at Columbia. I read his book when I was 19 at the University of Nebraska, and I'd started investing when I was 11, and I started reading about it when I was like 7. So I'd gone through I read every book in the Omaha Public Library that there was on, by the time I was 12, on investing and stock market. And I had a lot of fun, but I never really found out, I never got grounded in anything. And it was entertaining, but it wasn't going to be profitable. And then I read Graham's book, The Intelligent Investor, when I was at the University of Nebraska. And that just opened the whole thing up to me. Yeah, and I named my oldest son is named Howard after my dad, Graham Buffett, and he was a marvelous man. Never expected anything from me in return. Ben Graham, in his low teens, looked around and he looked at the people he admired, and he said, I want to be admired, so why don't I just behave like them? And he found there was nothing impossible about behaving like them. And similarly, he did the same thing on the reverse side in terms of getting rid of those qualities.
You have given a lot of fabulous advice, but what's the best advice that you've ever received?
Well, I received it in a variety of forms, particularly from my father when I was very young. But I mean, he basically, I think, taught me how to live. Not that I did it perfectly or anything like that, but I mean, he was giving me lessons, but he wasn't doing it by preaching to me. He was doing it by example. But basically, well, the biggest lesson, in a sense, I got is the power of unconditional love. I mean, I think there is no power on earth like unconditional love. And I think that if you offer that to your child, I mean, you're 90% of the way home. And there may be days when you don't feel like it. It's not uncritical love. That's a different animal. But to know you always can come back, I mean, that is huge in life. That takes you a long, long way. And I would say that every parent out there that can extend that to their child at a very young age, it's going to make for a better human being.
And you felt like you got that kind of unconditional love from your dad?
I absolutely did, yeah.
That is a powerful thing.
It is a powerful thing.
Thank you for watching. I'd love to know what you think of Warren Buffett as an entrepreneur. Let me know your thoughts by leaving it in the comments below. I made this video because Ray Carter asked me to, so if there's a famous entrepreneur that you want me to profile, leave it again in the comments below and I'll see what I can do for you. Thank you for watching, continue to believe, and I'll see you soon.
Okay, get your thoughts in order, folks. You gonna bring us in, Ted?
I will.
3, 2, 1, go.
Well, I hope you may have learned something from that particular offering, Toastmasters. I know the first thing that jumped out at me was that I'm going to get on to Mr. Buffett and ask him would he like to join Toastmasters, because I think in that particular recording anyway, he was speaking too fast. What did you think, Paul?
Well, I'm also going to get on to him and ask him to join, because at least his espoused values fit terribly well with Toastmasters' values. I was very struck by his #1 value being integrity.
Yes.
Now, isn't that a bit familiar? Do you know any big organization in the world that isn't all that well known, I suppose, but which specializes in helping people to become more effective communicators and leaders?
Yes.
Do you know any organization that might have that as one of its values?
Toastmasters, obviously, respect.
Right, well, has he been invited? This is my thing. Has he been invited to a world convention of Toastmasters?
Well, before I do that, Paul, I'd invite him to a club. And, I'm going to give you a challenge here, Paul, because you said you're going to invite him as well. I'm going to ask you, will you invite Warren Buffett to come to Blarney Toastmasters?
Well, since it's your idea, Ted, I'd hate to steal the good idea from you. I'll concentrate on inviting somebody who will introduce him, but you get him on the blower. Oh no, he takes phone calls, but he doesn't come to meetings. That's a bit of a problem, isn't it? How could we get him to
no, he doesn't like meetings where he has to sit down and discuss the nuts and bolts of the multinational that he's running at the moment. Our meeting is the complete opposite as a Toastmasters meeting to what he was referring to. He was
Right.
referring to that boardroom, and I'm pronouncing board as BORED rather than BOARD, whereas you're never bored when you come to a Toastmasters meeting.
Well, look, as secretary of Blarney Club, which I know you are this year, I'm sure that it's probably wrong for me, who's just a membership person, to take over. I'll wait until you get Warren Buffett to the meeting, and then I'll convert him to member, okay?
Okay. Now, what else did you like about what he had to say there? I mean, obviously, the intelligence, the integrity, and the energy were interesting ones, and I liked the way he said if they didn't have the second two, then the first two weren't. Or if you didn't have the first one, the integrity, then the second one wasn't very useful because you didn't want intelligent people with bursting with energy running around the place without integrity. So, what other things stuck out for you?
Thank you for listening, listeners. Listen again tomorrow for the third episode of the Talk Show for Talkers this week. And coming tomorrow will be a guy we barely know well enough. He's been in Toastmasters for a while, and he'll be talking about, well, your district needs you. So, Ted, in the background, you hadn't noticed that we've been told to stop by
Oh,
Moira.
yeah, Paul, sorry, I didn't see that, no.
Yeah. So
the reason for that actually is that I can't see anything on my screen if I'm doing this call on a full screen.
Then
So
don't do
I
it on a
have,
full screen, Ted. Or
yeah,
attach.
that's what I'm gonna do. But I have WhatsApp open as well because I wanted
Ted,
to see the
what
bits
you
that
do,
were-
Ted, what you do is you attach your chat to the main window. If you click on the three dots at the bottom of the chat window,
Yeah.
you'll see at the bottom merge to meeting window.
Oh wait, no, I'll have to look at that now. That's when I'm in full screen, is it?
Well, just open the chat. Open the chat.
Right. Okay.
Go to the three dots at the bottom right.
Next to file. Yeah.
Yeah. Click on that. Bottom light item, merge to meeting window.
No, I didn't get that. What I just got, Mara, when I clicked on that was save chat.
Huh.
I didn't get anything to say merge window.
That's very strange. Maybe
Is
it's
next
only,
is this next to the three dots or next to that little icon and the word file?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, when I click on that, what I get is save chat.
That's very strange. Don't know the answer to that because
the only answer I could give you to that is that possibly my edition of Zoom here isn't as up to date as yours is, or as
well,
it
no,
should
it's
be.
always been there, Ted. It's not a
Oh,
new.
has it?
It's
No,
not
it
a new
isn't there.
thing.
No, anyhow, it isn't there for me. And in actual fact, this screen fills the whole screen. I have no control whatsoever over my volume or anything. Whereas that's why I have to go into small screen,
But you can reduce it to a window, Ted.
Oh. As you just said.
Or just go to a corner go to a corner and drag it.
Oh yeah, it's as simple as that, is it?
Yeah.
It doesn't work for me. No, I still.
But you do everything in full screen, don't you, Ted?
Sorry?
You do everything in full screen.
Well, I do that anyhow, and if I need to go into WhatsApp, then I have to reduce.
But the easiest thing to do, Ted, is not to make things full screen, just to make big windows.
Right. Okay.
Well, you're
have to
muted.
discover how to do that. So.
Word of the century.
If you make Ted co-host,
that's a good idea.
He can screen share.
Good thinking.
And you can.
Good thinking.
You
well,
can
I
sort.
can see the gallery view. All right.
Good thinking. We can do that. Yeah. Ted, you're now going to be co-host. So now when you click on those three dots, you will.
All right.
Now click on the three dots.
Right. Now I go into screen share. So. Oh no! What I
just click on the chat.
Chat. Right.
And the three dots down the bottom.
Oh yes, I have it now.
Now merge to meeting window.
No, What did you say?
Merge to meeting window, the bottom
I
icon.
haven't got that. I haven't got that option. What I have is participant can chat with
Forget
no
that.
one,
Forget
host
that. Forget
only.
that, Ted. If you don't have it, you don't have it. End of.
I haven't got it, no.
No, well, that's ridiculous.
Okay, guys, look, we can record without sorting this problem out.
Yeah, that's not a problem. It's not a problem. I haven't got it on you.
No, it's crazy. I don't understand it. Don't understand it at all.
Well, the only thing to do is to screen share and sort problems out. Talking with somebody,
No, it's
I
got to
found doesn't
be.
work at all.
You're bang on.
It's
It
got to-
doesn't worry me, and if I want to go to small screen, that's what I do.
It's got
Mara,
to.
tell me when you're right there, and I'll call Paul in.
It's got to be a hardware issue. Because
Or could it be the version of Zoom? Could it be the version of Zoom that I have? Maybe
check
I
the
wasn't
version of
updated
Zoom.
when I should have been.
check the version of Zoom.
How do you do that?
You go to the.
Hey, guys, can we go on with the show? Stop. This is not.
Okay. Relax. We will. Mara will carry on with the show, and when we're finished, Mara, you and I can have a look at this.
Why am I still recording?
So, Ted, in the background, you hadn't noticed.
No, I hadn't, Paul. No,
No, that was.
that doesn't come up on the small
that was-
screen. You see.
That was something. That was different. I was just playing, so because I didn't stop the recording, so I needed to
Oh yeah.
just check that I was deleting the right bits. Come back on that later. Okay, so I need to get rid of that. Thank you. Go. It's better. All right, Ted, you're bringing in and introducing Paul. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, 3, 2, 1, go.
Welcome, Toastmasters, would-be Toastmasters, listeners and friends. You are now in segment 3 of this week's offering. And we are delighted to have the personable Paul O'Mahony. And he's going to be talking to us about your district needs you. So what does the district need you for? So I'm going to put you over and hand you over and give the stage now to Paul O'Mahony. Paul, tell us why our district needs us.
Did any of you join Toastmasters because you wanted to join a global organization that's in hundreds of countries with thousands of members and thousands of clubs? Is that why you joined Toastmasters? I wouldn't say so. I think it's very unlikely you wanted to have anything to do with a global organization. It's far more likely, isn't it, that you wanted to join a small group of people in whose company you felt very comfortable and who you felt was full of people who would help you to get better in some ways, in important areas. So you joined a Toastmasters club, and you've been a member in that club for a long time. Maybe you only stayed 6 weeks. Maybe you stayed a whole year. Maybe you've been in for the last 20 years, but your loyalty is to your club, isn't it? That's where Toastmasters matters to you. Some of you then found out, to your great surprise, that there were other Toastmasters clubs locally, much more than you thought, many more than you thought. And then a little later, you found out that, well, Toastmasters exists in another city, in another country. My goodness, Toastmasters exists all over Europe. Shock, it's all over the Northern Hemisphere. My goodness, it's all over the lot. So gradually it dawns on you, because people tell you, perhaps after you joined Toastmasters, you opened the Toastmaster magazine and you saw photographs in there and you saw, hey, they're not people from my local club. And you gradually realize that you're part, or you're a member of a very big organization. Some of you will gradually then realize that a very big global organization is a complex thing to run. It needs some coherence. It needs to be able to work together. Otherwise, all the clubs are completely separate entities, completely. But the truth is that Toastmasters is a large, complex organization. And the title of this piece of the Talk Show for Talkers this week is Your District Needs You. Well, the whole of Toastmasters International needs you, because as soon as you become a member in your local club, you have an influence, admittedly a tiny influence, over the policy making of the whole organization internationally. Your club president and your club vice president for education belong to an organization or have voting rights at certain levels in the organization. And once a year, they both vote on behalf of your club to make international policies. So if you become a president or a vice president for education, you're part of the policy making. Now, really good presidents and vice presidents for education consult the members of the club on how they should vote, and they may indeed allocate their vote to somebody else. But the key thing about this is that right from the very beginning, you as a member have influence on the whole organization. The next level up from a club is called an area. The next level from an area is called a division, and the next area is called district. So the district needs somebody to lead it. The district is too far away to be all that useful on a day-to-day, week-to-week basis for an individual club. That's why there is a level called area director. And now we need to think ahead about next year. It's already February. In fact, it's getting close to March. And soon people will be really thinking, who's going to give a bit of leadership in the area next year? Because you're only in the area director role, perhaps for one, in some situations two, but basically let's just say one. So are you going to step forward? Are you ready to step forward and aim to become an area director? Would that give you some good practice at your leadership skills? Would it get you to make a contribution outside your own individual club? That's the question that really needs to be thought about now, doesn't it? Don't leave it until May, April, May, June, the last 3 months of the year to think about the future of Toastmasters in your city, your town, your county. And then what about the next level up, the division director? Who's going to be the division director next year? I mean, if it doesn't matter, then we might as well get rid of the position. You know, what's the point in having a division director if they don't contribute some value? So if the position of division director isn't a valuable one, I can see why nobody would be interested in it. But how can you manage the complexity of a whole district if you don't have people in between the top layer and the individual club? So now, who's going to be your division director next year? You're entitled to go forward for the position. To have served on a club committee. That's what you really need to have done. You don't have to have been an area director in order to go to be a division director. I know some people who became division directors without being area directors. But the key thing is your district needs you. Your district needs people of talent, people who have the time, people who have the energy and who have the commitment, and people who are people of integrity, people of excellence, people who are into giving service, and people who respect everybody. These kind of people are needed. So your district needs you. Who's going to be the district director next year? Well, look, unless something strange happens, we all know. Who's we? The only people who know who will be the district director next year are people who are interested in who is in the leadership this year. And if you're in a club and you're not interested at all in any other bit of Toastmasters than your own local club, you're very unlikely to know the name of this year's district director, and you're very unlikely to care. But do you think it matters if Toastmasters as a whole in Ireland, Scotland, half of Wales and half of England, do you think it matters, the quality of leadership? Do you think it could have an influence on the motivation of people? Could it make a difference to the number of people who join Toastmasters? What the quality of the leadership is? You know, are you willing? Are you willing to help? Are you willing to take on an additional role? You don't have to leave your club. Still can do everything in your club. But are you willing to do it? That is the big question that is going on all over Toastmasters International today. We can't afford to leave it till April, May, and June. We really need to ask, you nearly need to ask yourself, are you willing to serve next year? What do you think, Ted? Would you be willing to serve next year?
I think it's a very timely reminder, Paul, to the Toastmaster fraternity to get them thinking about lofty positions such as the one you're speaking about. If you look at your chat, I'm after nominating who I think will be the division director next year, or not the district director, no, the division director. I put it in the chat there to both of you, just for your eyes only.
Well, I'm all in favour. As division director in Cork, I just better say this publicly, the more candidates there will be for the position of division director next year, the happier I will be.
Oh, of course, yeah. And that, you know, we learned a very valuable lesson about ourselves and about life in general from Patricia Johnson recently, when she said the first time she went for a position on the district, she didn't get it. And she didn't get it the second time either, but the third time she was offered a position and she didn't want to take it. So she said she wouldn't take it unless she was elected to it. But look at the learning that Patricia did, that Pat Johnson did with regards that particular lesson. Just because you don't get it the first time doesn't mean that you're not capable of doing it, or doesn't mean that the membership wouldn't have had elected you for it. But
yes,
the opportunity to learn more about the position.
And there's an awful lot of ways in which people can help, let's just say, help their district, help their area, help their division. You don't have to be the area director in order to help the area. You can be an assistant area director. You don't have to be a division director in order to help, say, Cork as a whole. You can be an assistant division director. You can be on one of the subcommittees. You don't have to be the club growth director. You can be on one of the subcommittees. You don't have to be the public relations manager. You can be public relations manager's assistant. And you know, if enough people don't think about the task of leadership, the quality of the organization is going to become diluted. It is for the
first 100 years. So I'm sure it will be here in another 100 years, and that'll be our 200th anniversary. And I think that leads us out of this segment very nicely and segues us towards our fourth and final episode for this week. And I would like to make sure and invite you all to come back tomorrow, because you'll be listening to those dulcet tones of the personable Paul O'Mahony, and he's going to be bringing you something about how to create a story effectively.
Okay, folks. You didn't actually move back from your computer, Paul.
Sounded
No,
great, though.
I'm sorry about that.
No, you sounded
It's-
great.
it
Paul, are you
seems-
coming in on your phone?
Seems to be
Are you
working
No.
out
using it?
reasonably.
Oh, you're not, thought you were.
No, but Moira is the sound engineer, and she will have the best
Yeah.
opportunity to hear the balance.
Yeah, well,
And she
I have.
she will have the job, Ted, of equalizing the two tracks so that it isn't one of us being way louder than the other. So
No,
I'm
it's-
sorry.
Well, on the center, you sound very
It's
good.
okay. I just compress a couple of times and it evens it
Yeah.
out reasonably. Yeah, that's fine.
Lads, I must tell you something. Last night I was looking for something on some of my memory sticks, and I plugged this one in, not knowing exactly what was on it. See this one here?
Recovery media.
Yeah, well, that's one of my memory sticks. One of the things I was putting stuff onto. But you know what's on this, Mara? This is gold. Gold.
What is it?
Our very first show.
Really?
No, you probably have it, Mara.
Of course. I
Our
have.
very first show, and it sounded better than some of the shows we're putting out now.
I have every single
How can
show.
I copy that? How can I copy that?
You just
But
drag
how
and
can I
drop.
copy it and send it on to you?
You could drag. I have
Make a
it.
copy of it, is it?
I have
Copy it onto your computer, Ted.
Yeah. Just
Oh,
put,
you have it.
Ted, I want it, right? Don't mind
Okay,
more.
I'll send it on to you, Paul. So
If you are able to copy it onto your computer,
I will. I'll try that. Yeah.
tell me
So
when
in
you
other
have
words,
that.
I just plug that in and copy and paste, isn't it?
yeah,
Well,
exactly.
tell me if you have it done. If
Okay.
you haven't, tell me you haven't, and then I'll tell you what to do.
I'll send it on to you. So, Paul, I'll send it on to you because the sound and all was fantastic.
Okay.
Well,
Let's
it
go
was-
on next section.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
studio sound, Ted. That's why.
Twas of course, you're right, Marlon. That's true.
We were all in the ideal situation.
Yeah, yeah. So I'll call Paul back in. So
Yeah, let me just, I'm just fiddling around. One little thing to do. Just saves me time later. Okay. Right, here we go, the last stretch. Three, two, one, go.
welcome, Toastmasters, would-be Toastmasters listeners and friends, to segment 4 of this week's offering of the Talk Show for Talkers. Gosh, didn't that weekend fly by? But as I promised yesterday, at the end of segment 3, you're going to be listening to the dulcet tones of the personable, passionate Mr. Paul O'Mahony again. And Paul is going to let you into a secret, the secret of effective storytelling. Paul, your title for this particular segment intrigues me. You is the personal story. Explain.
Once upon a time, I joined Toastmasters. I went into a room and I spoke to people and I gave £5 notes to each of them, especially so that they would applaud me. I went home that night feeling great. I wonder how many people, how many of you listening are interested to hear the rest of that story. You see, that's my story, but you're not in it, are you? I mean, you're just listening to me telling my story. How many stories have you heard in the last week? Ted, let me ask you, in all the different places you've been, how many stories have you heard people tell you?
Interesting, Paul, because I was involved in something yesterday, and I heard lots of stories. It's a speechcraft program.
Now, wait a minute. Wait a minute. You're telling a story. I asked you for, you're telling us I did something yesterday,
Yes,
right?
okay.
Very, very good. Because you see, that's what people always do. But let me just ask you to ask the question about, just as a very crude estimate, how many stories did you hear yesterday? A number.
Hundreds.
Okay, right. So here is an average person, an average Toastmaster, who will tell us that he has heard hundreds of stories. That's the problem. The problem is that when you join Toastmasters, listeners, one of the first lessons that you were given was when you asked somebody, well, what kind of a story should I tell during your icebreaker? You know, what should I say? And they say, tell a personal story. Tell us about you. A personal story. And that's almost the entry into Toastmasters piece of advice. You're the expert. Tell us about you. The problem that happens after that is that so many people carry on in the same way for years and years, telling their personal story to an audience that has heard 100 stories in the previous 2 days. What I want to talk about is not any old personal story, but how is it possible to tell a story which will matter to the audience? You see, when you're sitting there in the audience and you've heard somebody speak and you're saying, oh, that's very interesting, but I've heard 7 times about people who have done that before, or I'm just fed up of listening to other people's stories. You know, I've just had enough. I'll zone out until he finishes. And then when he finishes, you know, I'll wake up and I'll hope that the next person isn't telling me a personal story. I'd like them to tell me about how you build a space rocket. That at least would be interesting. So the tricky part is, how does a storyteller become good? Become good enough to hold people's interest, to hold your interest. And that's what I want to offer you. Why does a story become worth your while to listen to it? What is the magic ingredient, as Ted said a few minutes ago? Here's what it is. You don't start with I, me. Me. No, I. You're an egotist. There's a terrible phrase over here in Ireland. They're up their own. We won't say the last word. Anyway, you come on stage and you start telling a very interesting story. You're an egoist. Now, what to do? You have a great story. Have you ever gone to other Toastmasters meetings? I've been to about 9 of them in the last 4 days. And at each of them, stories were told. And at each of these meetings, people began their story in a way that you are used to. They began talking about themselves. Now, here's what to do. You start your story with a question. Have you ever wondered about how to tell a good story? Have you ever found yourself in facing a group of people who were listening to you? They wanted to hear you say something that would interest them. What did you do? I've got a story for you about how you can do it well. That's an example of a way in which you can start to give an example from your own life, your own personal story, but you make an effort to involve the audience in it by saying you too, in effect, might find yourself in the same position as I am. Another example. Have you ever broken up with your wife? Have you ever found yourself separated from her for many, many days? Have you ever been unsure if you would ever get it back together again? Here's what I did. This is what you shouldn't do. Now, there you're talking directly to the audience. You're looking into, in these days, you're looking straight into the camera. You're moving close, perhaps, to the camera. You're hooking people. You're moving back so that people have a bit of space to think. And you're doing it slowly. Slowly enough for the penny to drop in the listener's ear. Wow, this guy's talking to me. This reminds me of what I did. Isn't that so simple to do? Isn't that easy? Ted is showing his appreciation by moving close to the screen. And you don't have to change your personal story at all. You simply have to introduce it in a way that brings the audience into the story. Now, the really good, you're going to the next level. If in the middle of you telling your story, you break off for a minute in a bit like an aside. And at that point, she hit me with the frying pan. Have you ever been hit with a frying pan? A metaphorical frying pan? Have you ever been hit, given a blow in the face? You see, that's the little aside. Holding on to your audience. And then at the end, because you need to, if you're a great storyteller, you don't do it just once. And when you leave here today and you go back to that wife who was good enough to hit you with a shovel before you went to work, when you go back to that person, here's what you will do, won't you? You know what to do now. You go back, you buy the flowers, you get the vase, and you carry them upstairs to your own office, and you put them down beside you, and you close the door behind you. And you learn self-love. When you come out of that office, after you've smelt the flowers, you'll be ready to make up. Over to you, Ted.
And listeners, what a wonderful analogy. What you have there is the secret of life, of a happy life. And thank you, Paul, for giving us some beautiful ideas there on how to create a story. I didn't think you were that good as a storyteller, but now I know why you are so good. Excellent. Excellent. And that is a wrap up for this week. And it's goodbye from me and goodbye from Paul, which he can give himself.
Oh, listeners, thank you for listening.
Yeah, and I like the way he emphasized you. And we would also like to thank Moira O'Brien. Moira is the technical person when it comes to all things that we do on the Talk Show for Talkers. And if any of you were with us before the show officially started and you were watching us on YouTube, you will have seen some of the technical issues that we do have on the Talk Show for Talkers. Looking forward to your company next week, where we'll have lots of more stuff to intrigue you in our story of the Talk Show for Talkers. Bye.
Great stuff, Ted. Great stuff.
Paul. Excellent, excellent. That was great. That was great. That was lovely. That's great advice there, actually. You're so right. That's what happens. People go in and they say, oh, I'm going to tell a personal story. And they tell you about the day they went fishing and they caught the salmon of knowledge. And they obviously never ate it because they didn't get the knowledge as you were trying to give them.
Well, you're very kind, but you know what? I have listened to so many people.
Yes. No, you're so right.
And I've often felt like, all right, they're starting to tell their story. I'm going out to the kitchen to get a cup of tea. And when I come back, they might be finished.
Yeah, yeah,
They
yeah,
haven't talked to me.
yeah. It does. Yeah, you're bang on.
You know what? I'm sure it'll happen to me again. I have in the past found myself to be a judge in a speech contest.
Yeah.
And I have to admit that the first two sentences have the biggest influence on me in terms of my judging. The first two sentences. And because I mean, the content of the story matters. And if you don't give the audience content which involves them, you lose a whole lot of marks.
Yeah.
True.
And, you know, if you've lost your audience because you haven't hooked them, then your audience is going to miss all the later stuff.
Of course.
You know, there's no reason why they should be listening. So that first paragraph, that's why, you know, friends, Romans, countrymen, lend me your ears. Lend me your ears, not I've got something I'm going to tell you today.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Oh,
you
bang
know,
on.
you'd wish you could coach. I mean, the top of the tree people know all this, but you'd wish you could coach some people who are very good speakers. And they have great stories. Oh yeah, I mean, there's great stories around. But they should go to a storytelling convention. And that's not holding an audience. Well, no, that's wrong. A good storyteller will always effectively use you. If you go back to, you know, how that series about the American president who went around murdering people, and he had a wife who was his partner. I can't remember the name of it, and he got booted off the show, and because he did some criminal things or was accused of them. You must know who I mean. I can't remember.
Yeah, but I'm afraid to offer you a name.
Well,
Andrew
don't
Johnson.
offer me the name, but the
I'm
key
pleading
thing
the
about
Fifth
it was,
Amendment here.
Andrew
the key
Johnson.
thing I'd say a lot of people will remember were the asides to the viewers, right? So the aside to the viewers was, no, look here, you know these people, we don't need any. And that was a way of talking, you know, directly. And but anyway, look, I was pleased to do that because it's been
That was a lovely project, actually.
on my mind for a time, you know.
It was a good one, Paul.
Get the idea into your head. It's very hard to get rid of it.
That
Good.
was very good, yeah.
Okay, folks.
Mario, you're throwing us now because there's just a photograph of you up there, and
Yeah, I think there's a problem with my internet, so I'm
I
going to
think
stop.
she's-
I'm going to end the stream.